Welcome back, guys. Today we're covering a project that is super early on with a ton of potential, MultiVac. Not only does this project have incredible fundamentals, but it's also trading at a very affordable price, which in today's crypto market is really hard to come by. In this video, we'll briefly touch on recent news that has come out about MultiVac, then we'll dive into some charts, signals, and price predictions. Let's get started. So since we're spending most of our time on news and charts for MultiVac, I just want to kind of do a quick blitz on what they do because it's important for context. So basically their main value prop is that they are a flexible blockchain that enables sharding from a foundational level. So they built that into the blockchain when they developed it. And just kind of a quick little gloss over what sharding is. Basically, it's a way to improve the transactions per second. Its purpose is scalability. And we're seeing a lot of examples of this in terms of improving network speed, improving and lowering gas fees, improving the transactions per second. And it's a big issue that Ethereum and Bitcoin are running into in terms of scalability, and a lot of other cryptocurrencies are running into this as well. And so it's a big problem that MultiVac is trying to solve, and that's why I'm so excited about this project. And this is really the kind of main value prop and something that I think is really going to propel them towards, $1 or $2, those really big time gains. It's this right here. So a lot of the times developers have to kind of have this trade-off between decentralization, scalability, and security. But with the MultiVac blockchain, they're actually able to kind of switch off between those. And so that kind of creates a ton of opportunity for dApp developers, lowers costs, and makes developing a lot easier. So obviously you're starting to see kind of how this can be impactful in the future. And moving on to a little bit about what's going on recently with MultiVac. So they publish these monthly reports. It's always good to kind of freshen up on what's going on. And so I read these on a monthly basis. Their really main new news is the fact that they've launched their mainnet in July, and they're kind of building up this staking community and building up the reliability of the network. And so soon to come is their mining client and open staking pool. So that was actually released just a couple days ago and is now available for use. And here's kind of a little bit around their current APR. They've basically kind of nailed down this goal of getting to 3 billion tokens staked. Once they get there, they're actually going to be providing a 5% reward on what you're staking. So I've got a decent amount of MTV in there, and I'm excited for when we hit 3 billion staked. And obviously another great place for news is Twitter. So obviously if you're heavy investing into a project, you always want to follow and follow the community on Twitter. Kind of some of the most recent news surrounding MultiVac is around kind of what they're trying to do in terms of lowering swap fees, and then also allowing each transaction to contain multiple ones so that it speeds up the process and kind of exponentially allows more transactions to flow through the blockchain. So this is Sean Ying. I follow him pretty closely. He's a CTO at MTV, and he honestly generally posts kind of more specific news around what's going on as opposed to the actual page itself. So that's kind of an interesting thing to note. But I follow him. He is kind of daily giving us updates on what's going on with MultiVac. And so here's an example of something that's really exciting. So they're integrating batch transfer. So this allows transfers to occur with many different tokens at one time. And that basically allows the transaction per second to be cut down. So that's really exciting for them to be bringing that. And the other most recent news that came out is that they're actually starting to get into the NFT space. So they kind of see a new NFT ecosystem coming out on the MultiVac mainnet. And this is the first kind of NFT project they have partnered with, Polychain Monsters. Pretty well known. They have a good amount of followers, almost 100K. Really good community behind them as well. So it's exciting to see MultiVac kind of see that coming in the future. And they're doing these things like community marketing, creating NFT competitions, a lot of exciting stuff. And almost every week they kind of announce something new that they're working on, but just really exciting to be following them. And I would suggest you follow both Sean Ying, the CTO of MultiVac, and then also the page itself. So now that we've covered some news and a little bit about what MTV does, let's hop into the charts and take a look. All right, so here we have the MTV chart. We have 3 moving averages up here, the 20, 50, and 10 day, and it is 15-minute candles. Always like to use 15-minute candles when I can. I feel like we can be a little bit more accurate on our predictions and our signal tracing as well. So if we quickly look at how we got to our current levels here at about 0.017. So we found that high just a little bit less than a week ago, right around at 0.025. And then we kind of fell all the way down. We saw this kind of steep decline. We tested a previous support here at, what would that be, 0.018. We actually bounced off of that, came up here, tested this level, and you can see we tested it here again. And then we just couldn't quite break through that. So we fell down further, ultimately falling down to the low that we found recently, which was down at 0.0128, 0.013-ish. And then from there, we rebounded back up, and now we're kind of searching for our price. We're searching for kind of a support and resistance level that we're gonna bounce between here. So if we kind of quickly look at and play devil's advocate first, as we always do, let's take a look at a few potential levels, key levels that we could be looking at in terms of support and resistance to the downside. So right now, as you can see, we've been kind of battling this fib level, and just recently actually broke pretty convincingly under it. We're trying to break back above it, but this 0.5 fib level at 0.017-ish, 0.0168, that's kind of a key level to watch right now. Clearly we're battling it, we're testing it right here. If we can break convincingly above this and kind of get back up towards this range, play in between these fib levels, then we might be looking at something more convincing in terms of breaking out back to the upside. And you can also see that we actually bounced off of this fib level right here at 0.0159. So right now we actually closed a couple 15-minute candles above that, which was great to see. I don't think, unless we break back down below this, I don't see us falling way down, way into this area. The worst case scenario would be that we test this previous support level that was around the 1 fib level. So right here, worst case scenario, we test this back at 0.0127. That's kind of the worst case scenario. But after covering the downside, it really doesn't look like we're going to be dropping too far. Obviously, I don't know for sure. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is just kind of what I'm seeing. But worst case scenario, it looks like we could drop to 0.0128 on the downside. But moving up to the upside, let's look at a couple of interesting levels and kind of try to make a couple of predictions here in terms of where we could be ending up in the mid to short term. So if we break out one of our fib extensions here and just kind of look at some of these key levels, let's take a look here real quick. All right. So coming back up here, this is ultimately the really key level that we have to break. So you can see that we tried to break convincingly above this 0.236 fib level, which is at about 0.020 in terms of price. And so convincingly breaking above that needs to be done before we kind of shoot back up here to our previous high, which was right around 0.025. So you can also see that that is a key fib level as well. So, if we can break above that, play between this and kind of use this as support and resistance, and then eventually break through that 0.025 fib level, that's when things really get interesting. That's when we could kind of start seeing a breakout up to that 0.031, and then if we can show that we need to have a higher price, we break that as a resistance. Then we're really excited. We start kind of looking at 0.04, 0.05, and that's where we're gonna really start to see some of those heavy gains. But that is kind of the Short to midterm price target, I would say we need to break above, obviously, that previous high of 0.025. If we do break above that, short to midterm, we're probably looking at something between 0.031 and 0.04. Now that's short to midterm, obviously. I mean, whenever I buy crypto, I'm really looking long term, especially since they're offering almost 22% staking. So having staking rewards like that, having the ability to compound, I'm always going to be hodling something like this. So I'm kind of looking long term towards $1. I think playing in spaces like the VRA token and a lot of these other smaller tokens, I think ultimately we want to see $1 out of these ones. But for our short to midterm price target, we're probably looking at somewhere between 0.031 and 0.04. If we can break above those convincingly, then we'll go higher. But in terms of short to midterm, that's kind of what we're looking at. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, got value out of it, please consider dropping a like and subscribe if this is something that you're interested in. If you're interested in crypto and stock and charts and analysis, feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much.